Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we are attempting a cinematic Hadouken, a concentrated blast of, well, pure information aimed squarely at the monumental return of Street Fighter to the big screen.
It feels monumental, doesn't it?
It really does. I mean, this is a story that's just loaded with nostalgia, with some serious corporate ambition, and a cast list that honestly looks like someone rolled dice in a celebrity contact book.
And it's a project that, it demands this level of scrutiny. The Street Fighter legacy isn't just long, it's culturally tectonic.
Right.
Since Capcom launched that first game way back in 1987, the franchise has morphed from this, basic arcade fighter into a global cultural movement. It's got sequels, animated series. It's the foundation of modern esports.
So when you touch an IP this sacred, the expectations, they're not just high, they're almost mythical.
Absolutely.
And we have those two prior live-action attempts that serve as, well, pretty grim reminders of how badly this can go.
Oh.
So our mission today is to cut through all the excitement and, frankly, the skepticism. We're going to synthesize every confirmed detail we have, from the really surprising director choice to the corporate mandate that's driving this entire thing.
And we need to understand the strategic blueprint that Legendary Entertainment and Capcom have drawn up. The goal isn't just to succeed at the box office, but, and this is crucial, to honor the core spirit of the game.
This isn't just about who plays whom. We need to figure out if the creative team actually gets the inherent absurdity and, the spectacle of Street Fighter.
Is it going to be a grounded, gritty martial arts film? Or is it going to be this glorious, self-aware explosion of camp and color and flying kicks?
The early signs point to the latter, which I'm very excited about.
Me too, but the execution is everything.
And what immediately jumps out from all the evidence is that this project isn't some simple licensing deal. It's backed by staggering financial muscle, a truly unconventional creative mind at the helm, and a dedication to embracing that heightened reality.
The pure, wonderful campiness.
The campiness.
Exactly.
The thing that defined the arcade experience of the 90s. This feels like an attempt to define the video game movie genre for the next decade. Okay, let's unpack this.
Let's do it.
Let's start with the high-stakes corporate strategy that got this film greenlit in the first place.
To really grasp the significance of this reboot, you have to look past the marquee names for a second and understand the corporate structure that's underpinning it.
Right.
This is not just a Hollywood studio buying IP rights and, hoping for the best. This project is a massive collaboration between Legendary Entertainment, a studio famous for global blockbusters, and Capcom, the original Japanese developer.
And when we say Legendary is known for blockbusters, we're talking about films whose cumulative global box office is, around $21 billion US?
It's something like that, yeah.
An insane number.
That level of institutional support, that kind of financial commitment, it just signals a project that's designed to be a tentpole release, not some niche adaptation. Precisely. And the joint financing, the co-production aspect with Capcom, that is the critical element here. It ties directly into their explicit corporate philosophy.
Which is called the Single Content Multiple Usage Strategy.
Or SCMU, yeah.
It's a bit of a mouthful, but the concept itself is fascinating. Can you break down what SCMU actually means and how this film fits into it?
So SCMU basically means Capcom is treating its proprietary IP like Street Fighter, Resident Evil, Monster Hunter, not as individual products, but as adaptable platforms.
Cool.
They aren't just taking a check for the film rights and washing their hands of it, which is kind of how the 1994 film deal operated. Instead, they are actively invested in this film's success because they see adaptation into visual media as a valuable, integrated opportunity.
So the film isn't just supposed to make money on its own.
No.
It's also supposed to be a massive promotional asset. The box office is almost secondary to the main goal of using that visibility to push the entire franchise.
You've got it. The stated goal is crystal clear: to broaden IP awareness beyond the core, the dedicated gaming audience, and in doing so, further elevate the global value of the Street Fighter brand as a whole.
It's the Marvel Cinematic Universe model.
Exactly, but applied to a legacy gaming IP. Every successful visual project, whether it's a film or a TV series, it draws new eyes and, ideally, drives sales for the latest game installment. In this case, That's Street Fighter 6.
That dramatically raises the stakes, doesn't it? If the 1994 film was just a swing for a quick movie hit, this 2026 reboot is a massive, carefully orchestrated strategic maneuver.
It is. It's designed to cement Street Fighter's position in the global entertainment hierarchy. It has to be commercially viable, yes, but it must also be completely on brand or the entire SCMU strategy takes a hit.
And the fact that they're willing to co-produce, co-finance, maintain creative control, it just signals how much they intend to protect that brand identity this time.
They learn from the past, and the past, in this case, is a real mess.
A glorious mess in one case.
In one case, yes. This 2026 release will be the third official live-action film adaptation and the fourth feature-length adaptation overall, explicitly serving as a full reboot.
And it's just hard to discuss this project without the ghosts of failure lurking in the background. You have the 1994 film, which, despite its incredibly cheesy script and Van Damme's, let's say, interesting performance as Guile, has somehow found a niche as a cult classic. A charming mess.
It's a charming mess only because it had the good sense to be utterly ridiculous. Creatively, it was a disaster, but it embraced a certain level of delightful absurdity that fans, in retrospect, really appreciate.
We'll definitely dive deeper into the lessons from that film later.
Oh, for sure. But it set the precedent. If you're going to fail, at least fail loudly and colorfully.
And you contrast that with the other major attempt, the 2009 Street Fighter, The Legend of Chun-Li. That film is almost universally condemned. It's often called an unmitigated disaster.
It failed in the worst possible way. It was boring. It took these iconic, flamboyant characters and just stripped them of all their personality in this misguided attempt to be grounded and serious.
So the bar for this new reboot is, well, it's defined by avoiding the artistic failures of 2009 while hopefully capturing the chaotic fun of 1994, but with, genuine cinematic quality this time.
A high bar, but a clear one.
So the corporate strategy is sound, the financial backing is huge, and the motivation global brand enhancement is clear. Now, let's talk about the specific product they are building.
Yes, let's move into the core premise, the central trio of characters, and the very deliberate historical setting of this film.
Let's start with the hard details. The project has signaled its size just through its distribution. We have a confirmed theatrical release date, October 16, 2026.
Which is a crucial slot. That places it firmly in the blockbuster release window, and it's scheduled for release in IMAX. That's a big statement.
I think the little bit of behind-the-scenes drama with the distribution is worth noting, because it speaks to the level of commitment here.
It certainly does. So Legendary acquired the rights back in April 2023. It was initially slated for a March 2026 release and was going to be distributed by Sony Pictures.
Right.
But Legendary's larger deal with Sony expired in November 2024, so the film got temporarily pulled from the schedule.
Which must have caused a panic.
For a minute, maybe. But then in September 2025, Paramount Pictures stepped in and cemented that high-profile October 2026 IMAX slot.
And what does that movement show?
It shows two things. First, that major studios view this property as a substantial commercial asset. And second, that Legendary was willing to move distributors to make sure the film got the release window and the marketing push they wanted.
That's a huge vote of confidence in the final product. But one of the most intriguing details revealed is the specific period they chose to set the film in, 1993. That isn't arbitrary.
Oh, not at all. It's more than a wink to the fan base. It's a mission statement. 1993 represents the absolute peak of the Street Fighter II arcade phenomenon.
A world warrior.
Exactly. That game wasn't just a hit. It was a global cultural moment. Setting the film there instantly immerses the project in a specific, heightened aesthetic.
You're so right. When you think of 1993 culturally, you're looking at the era just before the internet fully took over. The only way to experience these characters was to physically go to an arcade, stand shoulder to shoulder with strangers, and drop quarters in a machine.
And that aesthetic gives the creative team immense freedom. They can lean into the early 90s visual style, maybe a grittier film grain, a specific kind of action movie pacing.
And definitely the kind of over-the-top, slightly dated fashion and tone that lends itself perfectly to camp.
It's permission to be fun. It justifies exaggerated colors, loud sound design that maybe even mimics the arcade, and an action style that doesn't need to feel hyper-realistic.
So if the setting is 1993, the plot has to revolve around the core conflict of that era. And the official logline delivers exactly what classic fans would want.
It does. It starts with, estranged Street Fighters Ryu and Ken masters are thrown back into combat.
The classics.
Then it continues. They are recruited by the mysterious Chun-Li for the next World Warrior tournament, described as a brutal clash of fists, fate and fury.
So we have the tournament structure, which is vital for a fighting game adaptation. But it promises more than just a bracket.
Right, the twist. Behind this battle royale lies a deadly conspiracy that forces the central duo to face off against each other and the demons of their past.
And the ultimate consequence is stated so dramatically, if they don't, it's game over.
I love that. It's so perfectly on brand. But that logline, it successfully manages three things.
Go on.
First, it establishes the essential Ryu-Ken rivalry. Second, it positions Chun-Li as the key orchestrator who sets the plot in motion, which is a smart move given her detective background.
And third.
It raises the stakes beyond just a prize fight. It becomes a personal, world-threatening mission.
And crucially, the casting for this central trio signals a huge commitment to action quality that directly addresses the failings of the previous films. Filming officially began in August 2025, so we know who is anchoring this.
Yes, and the casting of Ryu, the lead protagonist, is maybe the most critical indicator of the film's intent. Ryu is played by Andrew Koji.
And for anyone who follows action choreography, that name immediately carries a lot of weight.
A ton of weight. Koji is widely recognized as a highly skilled martial artist. He's known for truly amazing stuff in the show Warrior, which is renowned for its intense, practical fight choreography.
So this choice strongly suggests they're prioritizing actual fighting capability over just name recognition for the main character.
And the fan reaction to Koji's casting was overwhelmingly positive for that exact reason. It implied a dedication to avoiding quick cuts and body doubles. It signals that the filmmakers are committed to showcasing real, extended martial arts.
When you cast a lead who genuinely can fight, you're committing to a higher standard of action cinema.
You are. And then you have Ken Masters, the American counterpart and rival, being played by Noah Centineo. This is the first time that central rivalry, the strange duo, students of the same master, will be the dramatic core of a modern live-action film.
Now, the Centineo casting, it was maybe a little surprising to some who know him from lighter roles.
It was. And the potential criticism here, and we have to raise it, is whether Centineo can truly match Koji's fighting intensity. If Ken is supposed to be Ryu's equal, the audience has to believe Centineo can step into that ring with Koji and deliver.
It can't feel manufactured or excessively edited.
Exactly. The commitment to martial arts expertise has to be uniform across the leads. Otherwise, that central rivalry just falls flat.
And that brings us to the third core lead, Chun-Li, played by Kalina Liang. She is the essential figure, the one who brings the estranged fighters back into the fold.
And reports indicate she is also a martial artist who has been working hard for the role, undertaking some rigorous training to embody one of the most important female characters in video game history.
So the foundation is set. You have three actors who are trained, committed, and ready to deliver the kind of practical action the fan base is demanding.
It's a clear strategic pivot away from relying on a single major non-fighting star like Van Damme in '94.
But while the leads are focused on technical skill, the rest of the ensemble cast, that seems designed purely for spectacle.
You've hit the nail on the head. We've established the business structure and the action commitment, but now we get to the truly fascinating part of this deep dive.
Here's where it gets really interesting.
Because the sheer depth and variety of this ensemble cast immediately sets the film's tone, confirming a gloriously campy and physically imposing aesthetic.
It is an utterly wild mixture. You've got established film actors, combat sports figures, platinum-selling musicians, professional comedians. It feels like the creative team is trying to capture the feeling of walking into an arcade and seeing 15 completely distinct, exaggerated, unforgettable personalities all side by side.
We have to organize this talent because the list is it's extensive. Let's start with the antagonists, the heart of the evil organization, Shadaloo.
Okay, so the main villain, Bison, is played by David Dastmalchian. That's a fascinating choice. Dastmalchian has built a career playing these psychologically intense, often unsettling characters.
Think of his roles in The Dark Knight or Dune. Casting him as the megalomaniacal dictator Bison suggests they're looking for something darker and more intense than the operatic camp that Raul Julia brought to the role.
Dastmalchian could bring a genuinely disturbing psychological edge, which would be a great counterpoint to the spectacle the rest of the cast offers.
Absolutely. And then you have the absolute spectacle casting of Akuma, the powerful, demonic fighter. He is being played by WWE superstar Joe Roman Reigns. Anoa'i.
The tribal chief himself.
The tribal chief. Reigns is a generational talent in pro wrestling. He's known for his imposing physical presence, his intense in-ring demeanor. He brings the required size and intensity for a character like Akuma, who is meant to feel like an unstoppable force of nature.
And his simple social media reaction, Akuma, it's just perfect.
It shows that direct engagement with the character, which fans love to see. And speaking of celebrity muscle, we have Curtis 50 Cent Jackson cast as Balrog the boxer.
Another perfect fit. Balrog is defined by his flashy style and brute force.
And 50 Cent's whole persona fits perfectly with Balrog's over-the-top, slightly villainous celebrity status. And there was immediate buzz about the costume design for him.
Right. They said he had the game-perfect haircut and costume, which indicates that visually, they nailed that high-fashion pugilistic look.
Moving on to the more stylized villains, we have Vega, the masked matador and claw fighter, played by the musician Orville Peck.
I mean, this is a truly surprising yet somehow perfect piece of casting.
Vega is a character defined by vanity, by flair, by performance. Orville Peck, with his masked persona and dramatic stage presence, embodies that sense of performative villainy perfectly. It's a choice that leans so heavily into the theatricality of the character.
And for pure physical intimidation, Zangief, the massive Russian cyclone, is played by Olivier Richters.
Richters, known as the Dutch Giant, is absolutely massive. He was noted for being ridiculously imposing and just looming in the character posters. Zangief is a character whose identity is built entirely on his colossal size. You can't cast a conventionally sized actor and expect that character to work.
They committed to finding a genuine physical titan for Zangief,
which is paramount to maintaining the game's fidelity. Now, let's pivot to the diverse world warriors, the competitors and potential allies who fill out that tournament bracket.
And this group also includes some incredible combat sports figures.
Leading this group is another major professional wrestler, Cody Rhodes, playing Guile, the U.S. Air Force major. Guile was, of course, the central figure in the '94 film.
But here he returns to his status as a key world warrior. And Rhodes instantly immersed himself in the character. He shared a Guile-stylized American Nightmare logo with that iconic blonde flat top.
A haircut that is notoriously difficult to pull off convincingly.
And his wife, Brandy Rhodes, she quoted his signature move online, Sonic Boom.
That viral enthusiasm, especially from major wrestling stars, it just builds immediate organic hype.
But the single most talked about casting reveal for Spectacle was undoubtedly Jason Momoa as Blanka.
The Wild Man. This was a huge swing. Blanka is one of the franchise's most visually outlandish characters, a green-skinned, electricity-wielding beast. Yet the character posters reportedly showed Momoa looking incredibly accurate to the games. And Momoa was quoted as promising fans there's no one better to play Blanka.
That confidence, combined with his natural physicality and intensity, suggests a commitment to making the character monstrous, but also maybe sympathetic.
And rounding out this international roster, reflecting the World Warrior theme, we have Vidyut Jamwal as Delsim, the yoga master. We have Hiroki Goto as E. Honda, the sumo wrestler. Again, casting choices that prioritize physical presence and combat background.
We also have Mel Jarnson as Cammy, the Delta Red operative, and Raina Vallandigham and Alexander Volkanovsky in other roles. The inclusion of professional fighters and wrestlers is not accidental.
No, it's a deliberate strategy to fill the screen with people who understand physical performance. And then we come to the final and perhaps most telling subgroup, the comedic and peripheral characters.
Which firmly establishes that tone we were talking about earlier.
We have Andrew Schultz playing Dan Hibiki, the satirical fighter known for his overconfidence and terrible skills.
And then Eric Andre as Don Savage, and Kyle Mooney as Marvin.
The inclusion of these professional stand-up and sketch comedians, especially Andre and Mooney, who are known for surreal humor signals that the script is making explicit room for comedy.
And casting a professional comedian as Dan Hibiki, who is a joke character in the games, ensures that humor lands exactly where it's supposed to.
So when you look at the collective vibe, Hollywood, pro wrestling, platinum hip-hop, masked country singers, stand-up comics, it becomes clear that the film's formula for success is rooted in being as bombastic and colorful as the arcade experience itself.
This utterly wild cast feels absolutely in the spirit of the characters in the games.
It does. Previous films tried to run from the inherent silliness of the source material. A roster with a Russian bear hugger, a green electrical man, and a sumo wrestler is, by its very definition, absurd.
So by embracing this spectacle casting, they are opting for a goofier take, one where the celebrity and physical presence match the exaggeration of the characters.
And that willingness to be brave enough to be absurd, might just be the formula for cinematic success.
It's a huge gamble. You're betting that the sheer spectacle will outweigh any potential tonal unevenness. But if they're leaning into this self-aware, chaotic camp, the single most important decision they made was who they chose to direct this circus.
Absolutely. The director's chair defines the vision, and in this case, the choice is highly unconventional, reinforcing that camp aesthetic. The director is Kitao Sakurai.
And his background, for those who don't immediately know the name, is absolutely crucial for understanding the film's tone.
Yeah.
Sakurai is best known for directing the majority of episodes of The Eric Andre Show,
Which immediately suggests a unique, potentially disruptive, and highly self-aware cinematic approach.
I mean, The Eric Andre Show is famous for its surrealist humor, rapid-fire pacing, abrupt transitions, and just pure chaotic energy.
So the choice to put a director known for sketch comedy and surrealism, not traditional action or drama, at the helm of a massive martial arts blockbuster signals that this movie will not take itself entirely seriously.
It creates this fascinating juxtaposition. You have Andrew Koji demanding perfect martial arts choreography on one hand.
And on the other, you have a director whose primary expertise is chaos and humor. The inclusion of comedic actors like Eric Andre and Andrew Schultz makes perfect sense under Sakurai's guidance. He knows how to integrate that kind of disruptive humor.
So the question for you, as a listener, is, how does that skill set translate to cinematic action? Will the fast-paced, possibly chaotic visual style be used to heighten the absurdity of the fighting?
Or will it be used to hide poor choreography, which is what the fans are desperately trying to avoid? It's a massive tonal tightrope walk.
Supporting Sakurai is screenwriter Dale Musin and veteran producer Mary Parent. Ken Sang is handling the cinematography, so the visual look should be up to blockbuster standards, and the production timeline was remarkably fast.
It was. Principal photography began in Australia on August 18, 2025, operating under the highly appropriate working title Punch, and filming officially wrapped just a few months later on November 12, 2025.
That's a swift production.
It indicates a clear pre-visualization and a highly organized approach, which is essential for managing a cast this large and this diverse.
So let's discuss the look of the film, because that's where the commitment to game fidelity truly shines. The character designs were unveiled via a teaser trailer and 17 individual character posters at the Game Awards 2025.
And the reaction was overwhelmingly positive. The key takeaway is the commitment to accurate costume design. Despite the comedic element and the unconventional casting, the costumes are reported to be game accurate.
Ken's costume, for instance, was described as perfect. His classic red jai, his black belt, and the flowing long blonde hair. That visual commitment is so vital, it shows respect for the source material and validates that fan nostalgia.
And that visual quality expectation is justified when you look at the costume designer's resume. This is an individual who previously worked on films known for their highly stylized and often over-the-top visual designs.
Like Speed Racer, The Matrix trilogy, and Aquaman.
That pedigree is significant. Think about the designs from The Matrix. That practical, elegant futurism. Or even more relevantly, the stunning, saturated colors and intricate detailing of the costumes in Aquaman.
Like Black Manta's helmet or Aquaman's vibrant orange and green suit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This designer knows how to create elaborate, character-defining looks that still feel grounded in the world. They can make characters like Blanka and Zangief look intentionally elaborate, not like cheap Halloween costumes.
However, one area of visual fidelity always generates massive debate in the Street Fighter community, and that's the representation of certain idealized physiques. The discussion inevitably centered on Chun-Li.
Right. While Kalina Liang has the martial arts background, the core difficulty is translating Chun-Li's iconic, almost superhuman physique from the game into live action. Specifically, her exaggerated musculature.
Which fans affectionately refer to as her fat thighs.
And it's a defining feature. This isn't just a visual thing, it's central to her character lore in the games. Dialogue and story elements often emphasize the power and strength of her legs as her primary weapon.
It's the source of her devastating spinning bird kick. It symbolizes her martial prowess.
And achieving those proportions realistically is biologically difficult. It often requires CGI or exaggerated padding that can look unnatural. The production has to walk a very fine line.
So will they attempt to enhance her physically, or will they rely on performance and action camera work to convey that power?
The early speculation draws a parallel to the initial fan reaction to Gal Gadot's casting as Wonder Woman. There was criticism that her physique didn't match the comic book ideal of a muscled Amazonian warrior.
But once people saw her in action, the performance, the movement, and the costume conveyed the power necessary, and that visual debate largely faded.
And the hope here is that the costume designer, coupled with Liang's dedicated martial arts performance, will convey the power and strength of Chun-Li's legs as the foundation of her fighting style, regardless of whether the physical proportions match the cartoony ideal of the 1993 sprites.
It's the ultimate test of honoring the spirit over the literal visual.
It is.
The production seems dedicated to respecting the source material while strategically betting on camp and spectacle. Now, we have to circle back and analyze in detail the lessons they absolutely had to internalize from the last 3 decades of failure.
The history of video game adaptations, especially fighting games, is just littered with cautionary tales. The fundamental problem is that fighting games often have stories that are either, bare bones or needlessly complex.
And translating pure, kinetic one-on-one combat adrenaline into a 3-act cinematic narrative is inherently difficult.
Very.
Let's start with the one that at least gained cult status, the 1994 film. We need to detail precisely why it both failed and yet somehow became so charming.
The 1994 film, which was loosely based on Street Fighter II, made a major structurally damaging decision. It centered the story on Guile, played by Jean-Claude Van Damme, rather than the true protagonists, Ryu and Ken.
Which immediately alienated the core fan base.
Yeah. And the film's action also suffered significantly. They made the misguided choice to remove almost all of the supernatural elements, the Hadoukens, the electric charges, the truly strange abilities, in an attempt to make it feel grounded.
Which fundamentally misunderstood the appeal of the game. Street Fighter is a fantasy world where martial arts meets superpowers.
Removing those elements left the action scenes feeling bizarrely low stakes and, as you noted, often silly. They looked more like the stylized, simple choreography of a Saturday morning show, like Power Rangers.
But the film had one transcendent element that saved it from complete oblivion.
Raul Julia's performance as M. Bison.
Yes.
And that performance is the crucial lesson for the 2026 team. Julia, taking the role as a final tribute for his children, delivered a performance that embraced the magnificent operatic absurdity of the character. He wasn't playing a traditional villain, he was playing a melodramatic dictator, reveling in his own magnificent evil.
He understood the assignment. Julia's portrayal is cited as perhaps the most iconic video game movie character ever, precisely because he allowed himself to be grand and theatrical and ridiculous.
The lesson of the 1994 film is clear. The moment you try to treat Street Fighter with absolute gritty seriousness, you lose its fun. You must be willing to embrace the absurdity.
Now you contrast that with the absolute warning sign, the 2009 Street Fighter, The Legend of Chun-Li.
Described as an artless dirge.
It was a failure because it committed the opposite sin of the 1994 movie.
Yeah.
It tried far too hard to be grounded and respectable.
It failed precisely by excising all the fun aspects. It turned the flamboyant international cast of World Warriors into a group of, generic background extras from a standard police procedural.
The character designs were dull, the plot was generic, the locations lacked the vibrant energy of the games, they drained the core spirit and personality that defines these characters.
They turned a lightning-charged green beast, a massive Russian wrestler, and a spinning bird kickmaster into characters that lacked any visual or behavioral distinction.
So the lesson from 2009 is simple yet profound. Do not strip the core spirit of the characters. Celebrate their uniqueness, no matter how outlandish.
And the early marketing for the 2026 reboot, the massive, ridiculous cast, the director from the Eric Andre show, the commitment to game-accurate costumes, it all suggests they have absorbed the 1994 lesson and rejected the 2009 model.
The early trailer reports describe it as campy, goofy, and a relentless 45-second smackdown.
They are leaning into that high-concept, spectacular casting approach, knowing that the audience wants to see 50 Cent fight Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns as Akuma. They are choosing to be brave enough to be absurd, recognizing that this is inherent to Street Fighter's DNA.
And this willingness to commit fully to the spectacle is why the general sentiment is now overwhelmingly optimistic.
So if we bring all these threads together as we look toward the October 2026 release, we can summarize the strategic blueprint they are following. First, Capcom is strategically leveraging this film under its SCMU policy, co-financing it with Legendary to globally enhance the IP's value.
Second, the film has deliberately anchored its premise in 1993 to tap into that peak arcade-era aesthetic. The central plot focuses on the classic Ryukin rivalry being reignited by Chun-Li during the World Warrior tournament.
All while a deadly conspiracy involving M. Bison runs beneath the action. And third, the casting is the narrative centerpiece. The leads, Andrew Koji, Noah Centineo, Kilina Liang, are anchored by a commitment to genuine fighting skill.
But the supporting ensemble is where the tone is really cemented. Joe, Roman Reigns, Anoa'i as Akuma, Cody Rhodes as Guile, 50 Cent as Balrog, Jason Momoa as Blanka. It's just an incredible roster.
And crucially, that tone is dictated from the top down by Kitao Sakurai, the director known primarily for surreal comedy. This choice ensures a self-aware, campy approach that honors the exaggeration of the arcade source material.
And the production commitment to impeccable, game-accurate costume design, thanks to that designer from The Matrix and Aquaman, means the visual fidelity should match the ambition of the spectacle.
Everything points to a film that is visually spectacular, strategically sound, and positioned to succeed by being exactly what the source material is. Loud, colorful, and fun.
But you raised a crucial point that ties back to the casting of Andrew Koji. Fan anticipation hinges entirely on the quality of the action.
Exactly.
The sources noted that fans are desperate for fight choreography, quote, without 100 close-up cuts to hide the fact that actors don't know how to fight. This is the ultimate test. You can have the perfect costumes and the wildest cast, but if the fights are messy or obscured, the core promise of the game, the combat, is broken.
And that leads directly to the final provocative challenge facing this film. Given this extremely diverse mix of performers, from dedicated martial artists like Koji to pro wrestlers like Reigns and Rhodes, to actors and musicians like Centineo and 50 Cent.
Will the director be able to weave them all into a cohesive, high-octane martial arts tapestry?
We know Sakurai excels at fast-paced, disruptive comedy that relies on quick cuts for humor. Will that chaotic background translate into fluid, extended martial arts choreography that truly satisfies the fighting legacy?
The film promises a brutal clash of fists, fate, and fury. The quality will ultimately be judged not by how famous the names are on the poster, but by the execution of that promise. If the fighting is legitimate, the celebrity cast is a massive bonus.
But if the fighting is messy, no amount of spectacle can save it from becoming just another footnote in video game movie history.
And that is the massive challenge waiting for this creative team on October 16, 2026.